So you're thinking about applying to grad school. What, like it's hard? Maybe you need that grad degree for your job. Maybe you're just a passionate learner ready to go all in on your subject of choice. Or maybe you need to prove to your boyfriend Warner that you can be cute and serious. Grad school is a lot of work, a lot of time, and it can be a lot of money. But it's also an opportunity to be on the front lines of your field, diving deeper than anyone probably should into a subject. And while any boy who doesn't think you're good enough should be kicked to the curb, no Harvard law degree required, grad school can give you the power and education to transform your life and your industry. Hi, I'm Erica Brzozowski, and here are 5 questions you might have about grad school. Grad school actually encompasses a lot of different kinds of post-college educational pathways. Pretty much any kind of additional schooling you do after your bachelor's degree counts as grad school. And how long it takes, how much it costs, and exactly the sort of stuff you'll be doing really depends on what kind of grad degree you're going for. For example, a master's degree like an MA, an MS, an MDA, an MBA, or an MEd takes on average anywhere between 1 to 3 years if you're going to school full-time. But a doctoral degree can take between 3 to 7 years, and some even require you to complete a master's first. There are 2 types of doctorates in the US, professional doctorates and academic doctorates. Professional doctorates are the ones you earn in a specific school, like law school, medical school, veterinary school, dental school, or pharmacy school. Professional doctorates are almost always required for those professions. It's hard to be a Juris Doctor without the doctor part. Academic doctorates, on the other hand, aren't required by any sort of job outside of academics, but they are a way to dive all the way into what's interesting to you. An academic doctorate degree is known as a Doctor of Philosophy, or PhD. This doesn't mean you should leap up on an airplane when someone calls for a doctor, or that you necessarily study to be the next Foucault. You can get a PhD in all sorts of things, like electrical engineering, art history, psychology, chemistry, or theology. Of course, grad school of any sort is a huge commitment when it comes to time and money. And when it comes to PhDs, less than 3/4 of people who start the process actually finish it. So it's worth taking a long, hard look at why you want to go to grad school before you dive in. There are definitely tons of great reasons to go to pursue that grad degree, like career advancement. Besides nabbing that professional doctorate to qualify for specific jobs, a master's or academic doctorate can set your resume apart from the crowd and help you land a higher starting salary or more senior role. But be aware, a grad degree doesn't guarantee you that dream job by any means. Another great reason to head to grad school is if you want to do absolutely nothing but nerd out for literal years. Plenty of us love to learn. I mean, you're watching an educational YouTube video right now. But grad school can mean totally immersing yourself in studies with very little time left over for socializing or even working another job, depending on your grad program. So if you crave the weighty depth of knowledge deep within, then grad school might be just the ticket. But if you're not totally ready to devote all your time to academics, maybe stick to binging the study hall video library. One not so great reason to head off to grad school, besides trying to impress your jackass ex-boyfriend Warner, is because you simply don't know what else to do. In the US, by the time we graduate from college, most of us have spent 17 years straight going to school. So it can be tempting to dive straight into another degree, because that's all we know. But unless you have a really specific vision of exactly what you want to study and why, you're probably better off doing any number of other classic early 20-something hijinks. And if after a few years of finding yourself, you feel like grad school is the right choice for you, then great. Many people believe you'll actually get more out of grad school if you go back later in life anyway. People in their late 20s, 30s, and 40s generally have a better idea of who they are and what they want, as well as a more realistic picture of the job market and how a grad degree will fit in. If you're still feeling uncertain, the first step towards deciding if grad school is right for you is understanding what you'll actually spend your time doing. Because no matter what kind of grad program you're in, it's going to be pretty different than undergrad. While undergrad is meant to be a more generalized education, grad school is focused on something specific. You're probably not going to waltz in and study math. It's going to be something more like dynamical systems, and not just any dynamical systems, symbolic dynamical systems, or, whatever you're into. Grad school is also going to be a whole lot more work than a regular bachelor's degree. On top of classes, which tend to be smaller and more discussion-based, you'll also be faced with research, lab work, and hours upon hours of reading. Many grad students are also expected or even required to teach undergraduate classes. And for many grad programs like a master's or an academic doctorate, there's that added requirement of a big honkin' long final paper you present to summarize all your research, studying, and hard work, known as a thesis in a master's program or a dissertation for PhD students. For most master's students, your thesis will start with a proposal that includes a description of exactly what you'll be studying as well as how you'll go about your research. You'll also need an advisor or a mentor from your university, as well as a committee of experts in your field to guide you throughout your process and evaluate your work once you're done. A master's thesis usually ends up being somewhere between 40 and 80 pages long. And once it's written, you'll still have to defend it in front of your committee, which includes a public presentation and an oral examination. A doctoral dissertation goes through a really similar process, only way more intense. Dissertations are usually between 100 and 300 pages, which is one of the reasons why the process can take so many years. All that work to be done, many grad programs are essentially full-time jobs in and of themselves, but there are some part-time options meant for master's students who work too. These programs have the same requirements and get you the same degree, but you can take fewer classes at once and finish it over a longer period of time, usually around 4 or 5 years. And thanks to technology, online degrees are another way to balance work and school. Usually, these are limited to master's degrees, but there are a small number of online doctoral degrees offered by a few schools. And in addition to being more convenient, they can also be a fair bit cheaper. If all that sounds good, it's time to think about your application. Much like undergrad, many programs ask for a personal statement or essay as part of your application. But unlike undergrad, they're not interested in the story of how you overcame your shyness with the power of theater, how a volunteer trip changed your life, or your relationship with your baby sister. For grad school, they want to know why you want to pursue a grad degree, what you want to study, why you're uniquely suited for this work, and why you want to do it at this particular school. Think of it as more of a statement of purpose than a personal narrative essay. Most grad programs will also ask you for letters of recommendation. These can come from previous professors, bosses, mentors, or coworkers. Anyone who can do a good job of highlighting all the great stuff you have to offer the school, from your punctuality and sense of responsibility to your vast knowledge of molecular physics. You'll also have to submit your college transcript. Don't sweat it if you're applying to a grad program in something totally different than what you went to undergrad in, though. While the admissions office will be looking to see what your undergrad academic background is in, they're also just making sure you can handle the academic rigor of a grad program. And depending on the program, you might have additional application requirements, like a portfolio if you're applying for an MFA in visual arts, or a writing sample for an MFA in creative writing. Some programs also require entrance exams as part of your application. The most common is the graduate record exam. It tests your analytical writing and verbal and quantitative reasoning, and covers general subjects like algebra, geometry, and college-level vocabulary. You might also have to take a GRE subject test in something like math, physics, or psychology, depending on your program. And certain grad schools require other specific tests in place of the GRE. Like, business schools usually require the graduate management admissions test, while law schools require the law school admission test, and med schools need the medical college admission test. And once you've gotten all your materials in and your application submitted, some programs will invite you for an interview. Not every grad school has an interview component, and some only do it for finalists, but if it's an option, it's a great way to make personal connections and leave a good impression. Of course, even once you get in, there's still the problem of paying for grad school. Generally, grad programs are either funded or unfunded. Funded programs cover the cost of your tuition, usually thanks to grants or private donations. Often, this is in exchange for you working for the school in a teaching assistant or graduate assistant position, but not always. Some programs might fund all students, some might only fund a few, and some are partially funded, which means while you will be paying full tuition, you'll still need to come up with the money to pay the difference. In an unfunded program, on the other hand, students are responsible for covering all their tuition and other costs, like housing and supplies. Generally, professional degree programs like med school and law school are unfunded, but there are plenty of unfunded master's programs and academic doctorates too. There's a huge variety in tuition costs when it comes to unfunded grad degrees, but the average cost of an unfunded master's in the US is $60,000 a year. And students who opt for an unfunded doctorate end up dropping an average of $133,000 on their diploma, which means students in unfunded programs often end up taking out loans to cover all these expenses. On average, about half of US master's students end up with somewhere around $71,000 in debt, while for PhD students, that number is closer to $160,000. And for med school, over $200,000. Many grad schools will require you to fill out the FAFSA. The process is a little different than when you applied as an undergrad, and you can only qualify for the Grad Plus loan and direct unsubsidized loans, as well as work study. But student loans aren't the only way to help you afford an unfunded program. There are a number of grants, fellowships, and scholarships students can apply for grad school. Databases like ProFellow, as well as the College Board, Sallie Mae, and FastWeb can help you find these opportunities for funding. And your school might offer their own scholarships, so it's good to check with their financial aid office too. Another option to help cover costs is employee tuition reimbursement. If you're already working, some employers offer money to help cover some of your grad school costs, particularly if you're pursuing a program that will help you do your job better, like a teacher getting their M.Ed. Only you can know if grad school is the right move for you. And applying, getting in, and actually going to a grad program can seem pretty daunting. But if you're passionate, curious, and ready to spend a lot of hours in the library, it's a great way to immerse yourself in your studies, grow your brain, level up your career, and bust a daughter for shooting her father, clearing the name of her stepmother in a murder trial. And at the end, you'll be rewarded with a super cool grad outfit and a bunch of new letters to add after your name and your email signature. And a ton of new knowledge, of course. If you're currently in or thinking about going to college, check out our channel where you'll find more tips about navigating college applications and choosing a major. To find out how to earn college credit with Study Hall, go to gostudyhall.com or click the link in the description. And if you want to help us out, give this video a like, tell us about your dream grad school program in the comments, and smash that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. See you next time.